Nope, I didn't get him. I knew instantly once I missed that sleep I wasn't going to get him. Ah, I missed that. I feel like I moved too slow. My passive is up, so I'm not too concerned about death here. I'm gonna... Hello everyone, welcome back to the SMITE Support Khumbakharna Conquest Guide. I know it's been a while, I do apologize. I've been very busy with work, and my Grim Dawn series has taken up more time than I was anticipating, and just stuff has been going on, so... you know, it's been very busy. I owe you, I think, 3 videos, so these will all be dumped, of course, today. So you've got that to look forward to, I guess. And there we go. You know, that's just how it rolls. I do apologize, but, I mean, life. So let's get right into it. We've got Artio as a solo lane. I do like her as a solo lane. She's tanky. She's got a self-heal. She's got a lot of abilities available to her. I've got nothing against that. Then we have Morgana as jungle. I do find that a bit risky. I think she's a little bit slow in the movement speed to really effectively do that. At least, well, I guess she's okay overall at it. I guess pretty much anyone who isn't an assassin is going to have a mild movement speed reduction, but she at least can move a little faster during her ult. So if she pops her ult right before entering lane, she can actually engage in the combat a little bit decently quickly there. So there is that to consider. And then Agni, that's just going to be... Well, the Agni will at least appreciate the sleep. So will Charybdis, actually. Morgana kind of will be able to use it, just in the same way as you would want her to hit any regular ability. It's not terribly... Agni's at least is longer range, so it can sometimes be a little bit hard to accurately hit people with his ult because of the angle. So I can appreciate that accuracy potential issue. And here we go, and we are going to initially... Okay, that's a lot of physical. I had not even noticed that. I was so busy focusing on my own team, I had not even looked at their team well enough to notice that they were almost exclusively physical. Alright. Do we have the kind of attack speed? We do not have the kind of attack speed to justify war flags. We're going to go straight into sovereignty. We're going to get some healing potions. I'm going to get 4. Nope, that's too many. And the reason why I'm going to get 4 is because bopping the void buff tends to cause you to lose health in most cases. Khepri doesn't really have to worry about it too much because he's got the bonus health from his passive. But everyone else mostly does, although Athena does enough damage outright to really not have a problem with that. But Khumbakharna, if you miss his throwback, and I have a problem hitting that on the camp for some reason, it's a me problem. I do not necessarily maximize my damage on this just because I have a really hard time hitting that as accurately as I would like to. So there is that little issue there as well. So... we do have that to consider as well. And here we go. And there we go. We're going to slap you out here. Yep, that's fine. And thank you. Excellent. Thank you very much. And we are going to go right into this. Excellent. And hello.
They struck first. Our strike will be the last.
Boom. And let's see. The Anhur is going to be pretty dangerous because his passive makes it very easy for him to deal really substantial amounts of damage. He basically is operating as if the enemy has 20 less protections than they actually do. Bold move. Let me just get some damage on there. That was nice. Gotta get the sleep. They're going for our Harpy. That's not really something we can necessarily do anything about. Also, I'd like to appreciate the Charybdis coming to the Void Camp a little early. I didn't actually have to use my health potion as early as I thought I would, so that was a really nice bonus. We're going to put these people to sleep and then just let the wave clear. There we go. That's a huge advantage you can use with Khumbakharna, by the way. You can just put the enemy to sleep, and if your hunter is paying attention, they can just ignore the enemy team and clear the wave for pretty much scot-free, giving us a huge advantage. We still have our archers here. We've got everyone here. This is absolutely fantastic. Look how much damage Serqet has taken from Charybdis, minion poke, etc. It's a pretty substantial amount. Now we're far up ahead. I am taking some damage, more than I'd like to be. And we're just going to go in here, and everyone sleeps now. She just used her escape very unwisely. And, okay, she did make it out alive, but he is taking a lot of poke for no reason here.
They sacrificed their whole self for us.
Okay, I am dead. Can she turn this around? Yes, she could theoretically turn this around. Very good. She takes him. Excellent. That's very important. Serqet isn't quite as important to take. It's a nice if she takes him, but it's not necessary. It looks like she could. What's the situation actually like over here? The trade for me of Anhur for me was huge. That is actually really beneficial. Yes, I'll be a little bit behind, but Anhur will be as well, and that is a huge benefit for Charybdis. That is quite impressive. So that's really good news there. I did miscalculate a little bit. I didn't necessarily have to die there. I could have probably avoided that fate if I'd been paying a little bit more attention to how much minion poke I was taking, but I was very focused on trying to get the Serqet killed, because if I could get the Serqet killed, at the very least, it would be 1v1, and Charybdis had the advantage of that. But, unfortunately, I died, so it was a weird, but ultimately good trade. In total, I'm hoping he jumps in. He's thinking about it. I can see it in his eyes. There he goes. Nope. That was a good play. That was a very good play by the Serqet. I must say, I'm very impressed. I should have put her to sleep, but I missed. Alright. So now we have... Yep, I'm just trying to keep the minion wave kind of at bay here. Go for the sleep. Sleep is important. Good for your physical and mental well-being. I was expecting her to jump on me. Okay, you're gonna gank? That's cool, because she just went back. Okay, they've got to have wards down. Nope, she is out of here. She has no interest. He has no interest, whatever. Oh, wait, he is...
Ally has been slain.
That was my fault. I didn't think she was going to stay in there. Oh, Serqet came back in time. That's what the problem here was. You're going to go away. I'm hearing... There's Thanatos, yeah. Oh, my goodness. Ah, I should have used my shell.
You fought.
Although she, again, took the Eset, so that's really huge. I do appreciate that. So that's fairly nice. I'll take that every day of the week. Okay, I feel like I should probably be going to do mid now at this point. Yeah. There's Serqet. Figured. Thanatos against Morgana is not a great matchup for Morgana. He is so much faster. She took a lot of unnecessary damage. You want to come over the fire? Nice poke, nice poke. Good try, good try. Alright, he's off. He might be going left. I'm not sure what he's doing. There's farm over there too, so it could be just farming, but... I completely whiffed the wave there. I know what you're trying to do. I don't do enough damage for that to be a concern. You're poking their literal... Oh, here we go. Tank. Nope, you're not getting out of here. You're gonna die. Shell that. Okay, we'll make sure she dies, at the very least. I don't know what this is. This is, for some reason, Chaac over here. Why is Chaac over here?
Critical damage sustained.
Excuse me?
Wrapping
What? Okay. We're gonna go for Breastplate of Valor next. I might sell, yeah, let's sell one of these. Wait a couple of seconds for Silver Breastplate so I can get that physical protections up. There we go. Excellent. Okay, and off we go. Alright. And off we go. And off we go. Boom. Alright. 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 Yeah, I see it. I see it. I didn't know Serqet was right there.
enemy missing.
Okay. Interesting. You will laugh, but you're half dead. And Agni is not quite half dead. You know, I know what you're planning, and I am not going to stand for it. I whiffed that, and I had no reason to.
One less opponent that can stop us.
I'm going to need some... I'm going to need Pestilence after my Breastplate of Valor just for the magic protections, because I am absolutely not going to just let Eset stamp all over me. Thank you very much. Let's see if we can put these guys to sleep. There we go. I have some excess mana because my health pot is up, so... Or active, I should say. We're going to go the long way around, because I think they're going to catch me out if I don't. Interesting. He's going to poke him, because that's a very predictable movement they had there. I got some nice poke there. Oh, you are paranoid. Alright. Interesting. Oh, hello. We can gank this. Or he can hit you with that and... What are you... Okay. Bit of an odd choice, but sure. Oh, you are diving way deep for this. Interesting. Let's see what we can do with this, huh? Hi. I'm not going to let you heal off of me. I know what you're trying to do. Hello. Nice, nice. Did you survive? Did you survive? Yes.
Exceptional.
This is the interesting battle of the ages. Huh. Good play. Oh no. I was so close to getting her. Oh, I shouldn't have tried, but it was so much fun. Oh no. See, that's the nice thing in this matchup here with Charybdis versus Anhur, is that she can actually hit the wave and him at the same time with not a whole lot of effort. She should have saved that for going under tower, shooting him, and then using that to get back out is honestly what she should have done. Although the fact that he kept running meant that he at least is aware of that possibility, so that was the smart move on his part. He was very smart to be aware of the fact that she could theoretically do that and just kept on running. He didn't stop to back, he didn't turn around, he just left. That is awareness of your opponent's kit, because if she'd been more aware of, I guess, the possibility of killing him, although she wasn't going to catch him either way, but she could have run under tower on the gamble that he would stop under tower and turn around or try to back or something, shoot him for the final blow, and then whirlpool out of there to not take the damage from it. So that was just an option that she had. It ultimately wasn't going to matter because he was aware enough of that possibility to just keep on running backwards. But it is interesting that she did not choose to do that when she could have. How serious are we about this attack? Okay, she just used her ult, so that's a free ult we got out of there. That was not a great time to use that ult. She has a tendency to do that. Look how little health she actually healed from that. It was basically a waste. For the very... Okay, and she just left... Who is this? Is this? Yeah, this is... Nope. Serqet timed that badly. Interesting. Are you actually gonna... Where? You just left. Alright. And where's Chaac then? Hold on. We don't know where Chaac is, and... Oh, hello. This is an interesting development. We're just going to pop you up there. I was kind of hoping Anhur would walk into that, but he didn't. There we go. I just wanted him dead. Oh, she's going way deep in here. Okay. Sure thing. Oh, boy. Okay. I mean, they did almost get on her, but this is, yeah, I was going to say, going to get pretty ugly pretty quickly here. Did not intend to do that. Can we... Nope, nope. Alright. Nope, I think we should retreat. I don't think we can take this fight. I don't think this is a good fight. I no longer am into this fight. This is just not going to end well for anyone involved. No, I'm not going to survive. I'm going to be really honest. What silenced... Okay, it was Eset's silence. Okay, I just didn't think that that had hit me. Fair enough, fair enough. I just did not think she had the range to hit me there. She was closer than I thought she was. And she caught my dash, which was what killed me. If I'd been able to go the full length of my dash, I probably would have survived there. Unfortunately, she caught that, so that's just the way it goes sometimes. Which is fair enough, fair enough. And off we go. And in we go. And I'm going to head left in case they need it. They don't need it. What am I talking about? Agni needs me right now. There we go. I did not intend to steal that either. We're going to gank this? Alright. I don't think this is a great idea, but... That was a good hit, though. I'll give you that. No, I don't want to dive that. I'm not healthy enough for that. She's got too much on her side right now. Oh, yeah, that would probably be good. We're serious about this? Okay. I am so sorry. I keep accidentally stealing. I'm going to go and gank this. Hopefully.
If only they accepted us, we could have saved them.
I missed that. Alright. Yeah, I don't need to be here.
Their rampage won't cease.
I don't think that's a good fight anymore. I don't think you need me at this point either. Oh, Serqet's coming in. Alright. No, we don't want to fight this. This is a bad idea. This is a terrible... Oh, this is fine. I'm fine with this, but I don't think we should be fighting a fight in the jungle right now. I just don't see this as a good thing. Alright, I'm going to see if Anhur's still kicking around and maybe gank him, but if he's not, I'm going back to the middle. Okay, there he is. There we go. Alright, I am here. I've got good amounts of health and mana. We should be okay overall. I'm not that concerned about it. I'm going to head back to mid, though. Looks like we have an opportunity to kill Eset. She's there. We go. I was going to say she's pretty out of position there. That wasn't a very good move of hers, just to wander on in without knowing where any of us were. I doubt they had eyes on too many of us at that point. Do you need help with this? No, you really don't. But I'll contribute for the assist. Alright. And here we go. And excellent. Hello again. That's fine. I don't care what you're saying. Does not matter. And here we go. Excellent, excellent. Good. And then we're just going to waltz on in here. Good. Perfect. And I'm trying to figure... Okay, there is a huge gank going on over in right lane. They apparently didn't need it. Yeah, we're going to have to. Let's, okay. Nope. 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 I didn't get him. I knew instantly once I missed that sleep I wasn't going to get him. Ah, I missed that. I feel like I moved too slow. My passive is up, so I'm not too concerned about death here. I'm now concerned about death. Okay. And there I go. She should probably just retreat. There's no way she's saving me. Yeah. Ooh, I should have gone back ages ago. I didn't, though. We'll get blank. I could probably pick up some lost kills that way. At this particular junction, I want some hybrid protections because I don't want to build any more individual magic protections simply because the amount of... Well, then again, there's so much slow on the enemy team. A winged blade wouldn't be remiss. So let's go with a winged blade, yeah, and then I'm going to build one more piece of physical protection. What it specifically is going to be, I'm not 100% sure. Midgardian mail, maybe? No, that doesn't really make too much sense there. Is anyone on their team building crits? Oh, Anhur is. Thanatos isn't. But I might build Spectral just in case. I'm not sure why Artio is that far up. I'm aware of the fact that she is 19, but that is still a little bit excessive. She is going to make it out, it looks like, though. Okay, that was a good kill on her. That's good. You going to be okay here? Nope, you're not going to get hurt today. Interesting. Oh, here we go. There we go. I'm not sure why Serqet was going so hard on that. Well, probably for the same reason I do, actually. That's the exact same motivation. The hope of a kill that your team is not going to be able to pick up at all. I can understand that. Yeah, I do that. I'm like, I can't let this go away. I've worked so hard to protect my team for this kill. I can't let it go. They deserve... My teammates need the golden experience, and it's just going to get you killed for no reason. I fall into that fallacy all the time. It's really horrific. So... off we go. What? Okay. I'm just gonna steal some golden experience off you for a little bit here. I'm well ahead of the Serqet. Yeah, the Serqet. So. Now that's mostly because I've just been able to assist with more kills here than the Serqet. Because I just have to kind of maintain a closer presence, and generally speaking, I have a bit more reach with my being able to use the throwback, or whatever it's called. What is this called again? Throwback. It is called throwback. Being able to use throwback to ping people from a distance. I don't need to be chasing you, honestly. There's nothing there for me. You're just going back under tower, and I'm not going to be able to pursue you down that way. It's a moderately tanky Morgana. Oh no, she just heals a lot. Okay. Yeah, we don't want to fight that now. Can we get left lane? No. The Anhur is insistent on just pushing that out. We don't need 3 people splitting this. I split it anyways. Nice. I was too late to get out of there. Nope. No, we don't want to fight this Artio. Oh my goodness, you're going to fight it anyways. I mean, we picked up Artio there. Good play. Good play. Oh, there's a whole bunch of people here. We need to get out of here. Nope, this is not what we do. Not want this fight. We do not want this fight. This is in their territory. They're not so far behind us that they can't just turn around and kill us. We're not fighting for anything in particular here, because we're not going to take the fire giant at this point. At least not with that. Well, at least not with all of them alive and all of us scattered so far and wide. Why is she so far up? What is this? Oh my goodness. That was nice. That was nice. I'm going to pop you up, actually, because you have thorns on, so this will actually help you, lose some of that. Are we going to pick anyone up here? What, do you have the world's greatest amount of crowd control immunity right now? What the heck was that? I don't know how he turned that around and got a kill out of that. That wasn't a great fight. Go for it. Yep. Is this? Yeah, this is Serqet. I could tell by the amount of damage we weren't doing. I mean, I have my passive. I can tank this for pretty much free. Completely. I am so surprised we turned that fight into actually something positive, but they were honestly way too aggressive with it. Yeah, that's fine. They killed Serqet. I mean, I died, but they take the tower. They took, what was it, me for 4 enemies? Well, I can't really take credit for the other ones, but at least it was me for tower, even if you don't consider the previous fight to be involved in that in any way, shape, or form. Let's get spectral armor, because I'm pretty sure that's what he slapped me down with. Yeah. And then they just... Oh, yeah. Nice job. That was very close. She almost didn't kill him, but she was able to pull it off. Probably, actually, completely through the fact that Obo was bouncing back and forth between the blue buff and Thanatos, which was extra damage. If that hadn't been happening, I don't think she necessarily would have been able to kill him at that particular point. So there is that as well. And they just surrender. Okay. So, despite the relatively grim matchup between the junglers, how did we win? Well, there are a couple of actually pretty specific reasons behind this victory. The first one is... First off, let's commend everyone, because everyone played really well. The first thing that happened was, in the very least in the duo lane, I was able to put the enemy asleep, and Charybdis was able to use her spread shot effectively enough that we were able to out-clear Anhur and Serqet. Now, this is not the Anhur's fault. This is mostly because Serqet's wave clear in lane is horrifically bad. Serqet is a assassin for a reason, and her clear is specifically designed for jungle clearing. Consider the zigzag approach of her dash. This is not just a potential escape method. This was primarily designed so she could hit a jungle camp multiple times, because if you bring it close, you're hitting all 3 minions 3 times, and the minions are in a triangular formation, which really benefits this kind of a attack. That is why Serqet has such good jungle clear and such terrible wave clear. She only hits the minion wave once, period. While that alone isn't necessarily a problem in and of itself, when you consider Khumbakharna's wave clear and throwback hitting 1 minion out of even the combat zone, basically. That minion is removed from combat until it is able to physically walk back in, which isn't exactly fast. But it also does damage to the rest of the line, assuming you're even accurate, and I can poke at the same time. Serqet has to start at the front of the minion wave, or the very back of the minion wave, basically be touching the minion and dash through the whole thing. And then she's at risk, at least at the early levels, which at level 1, you're going to take the zigzag, I can't remember the name of the ability, you're going to take the zigzag so that way you can clear the void buff faster, and so that's going to be your only ability. And using it is so high risk. You will notice she did not use it on the first wave, because she understood that if she did, she was going to be in a very ugly position, which would be behind our wave. Which meant that all I had to do was throw back into her, belly flop her basically, and Charybdis would get free hits. She would naturally, theoretically retaliate. If she did retaliate, she would be pulling all the minion poke, and while Anhur would have been there, she would have been taking a large amount of damage for no real reason, and with apparently just HP. She wasn't even building protections right off the top, so she didn't even have that strong of a defensive foundation in the first place. Okay? So that was a huge problem, and this is one of the reasons why I don't really like Serqet as a support. Yes, her abilities don't require that much power to deal damage. She doesn't need power to hit hard. That is true, but that does not justify trying to use her as a support. I see it all the time. People claim that she has the crowd control to be able to be a damage support because her ult doesn't require any power. Her ult has no power scaling. It is true damage in the hundreds, which is very impressive, yes, but her ultimate is still not really a great form of crowd control. It is a very short push in one direction of your choice. It is a very short route in one route when you first use it. It is basically a brief route followed by a brief short push, and then her only other crowd control ability is her poison darts that she throws, which you can only affect two people with if you even hit in the first place. Her dash does not have any crowd control potential unless you are building the poisoned star, and her jump has zero crowd control potential for anything. And even then, the poisoned star is a risk because you are basically only running a 20% chance to crit with a dash, and unless you're triple dashing through an enemy, it's not really likely to happen. It's just not necessarily a great attempt, which is why not a lot of people build Poisoned Star on even Serqet, even on support Serqets. But it's the only way you can get that to be effective crowd control. So Serqet has just major problems as a support anyways. I know the pros can do it, but they're the pros for a reason, and you have to have the element of surprise, but by this point, Serqet has been seen so much in even casual conquests as a support that it's no longer the surprise that it once was, and so the point of utilizing Serqet as a support is largely gone. It's not a surprise anymore, and people know at this point how not very dangerous it is, in all honesty. And again, she wasn't really necessarily building to purely support her team. Blackthorn Hammer is not actually about supporting your team. This is not a support item. It does give you health, but this is more of a solo item. This is something a solo lane might build for a little bit of tankiness and a little bit of power and some access to some cooldown reduction for most of the time and mana when you don't really want to be casting. It's really designed primarily for solo laners. This is not really designed for supports. Pridwin. Yes, supports can use this, but I kind of get the impression, due to Blackthorn Hammer and the choice of Serqet in the first place, that this was more intended for Serqet to be using as a method of dealing damage. However, the Serqet has failed to notice that this shield is equal to your protections, and at the point she was building Pridwin, she didn't have that much in the way of protections. Alright, let's look. She had a grand whopping hairy total of, just using rounding for pure whatever, we're going to remove the, by the way, the 55 here, and we're going to move the 60 here. So we're going to be removing 115 from the magic protections, just to get back down to where Pridwin was, roughly speaking, when she built it. So that's 115. So we're just going to call it 100 magic protections and 100 physical protections. We're just going to round up for ease of math. And then we are going to be utilizing the boing, why did I have a brain cramp? So you're getting 200, it's a 50%, so you're only getting 100 of the, you're getting a 100 bonus health shield, And when that explodes, I'm sorry, the shield is equal to your protections, pardon me. So a 200 health shield that when it explodes you're dealing a whopping hairy 100 damage. Alright, but this is also magical damage, it is going to be mitigated, so it's never going to be the full 100 damage. It does slow, yes, but it's only a 25% slow for 3 seconds. It is not... There are way better ways of slowing people than Pridwen, but again, I do believe that she was probably building this for the damage. She wasn't really looking to be a true support. The Heart Ward Amulet was a fairly good choice, but this should have been much earlier built. This should have been before even Pridwen. Blackthorn Hammer should have been either Gauntlet of Thebes, which would have really worked well with Pridwen in the late game, or Sovereignty, or this, or Heartward here. And then she has Oni Hunter's Garb, which makes a little less sense even more. I know that you're going to be in the midst of the enemy a lot of the time with the Serqet solo. That's fairly obvious, so the passive makes a lot of sense, and I don't have a problem with Oni Hunter's Garb in this context, but she was completely, as you can see, neglecting her physical defense, despite the fact that Charybdis was extremely powerful at that point. The Charybdis was very ahead, and was doing extremely well, and... Yes, we did have 4 magic, which I just now realized, but you still need physical protections for the Charybdis, because the Charybdis was just curb-stomping poor Serqet here, and that was just because she was not building any form of physical protection in the slightest. Midgardian Mail, or potentially, considering Serqet, what would have been a better idea might have been Witchblade, would have been both great pickups at this point, then build Oni Hunter's Garb, but she was completely neglecting her physical defense when she really shouldn't have been. And the only reason she died less than I did was because she was kind of back a little bit more than maybe a Serqet support would, because there's not a whole lot of situations that Serqet can go into and survive. She can't really initiate as well as Khumbakharna, because she only consistently has the darts. Her ult puts her stationary for a little while, so that's just a risk in the first place. And yes, she has 2 escapes, but neither of them are really effective for crowd control purposes, so all she's really going to do is dash in, dart people, hope that they get crowd controlled, and jump back out. Even with protections, that's not terribly impressive. But I have a root, I have a sleep, and I have a really massive pop-up, and the sleep itself is very potent. Furthermore, I was actually building a lot more protections than she was. Consider. So, I mean, she was just completely neglecting her physical defense, and while I know we were for magic, you still need some physical protections, because Charybdis was absolutely stomping, alright? Now, the reason Charybdis continued to do well even after the supports left the lane is because even though ostensibly Anhur does better in that 1v1, the fact that Charybdis was already ahead at that point because of that first fight where Anhur killed me and Charybdis killed Anhur, that put Charybdis quite decently far ahead. And I know Charybdis took a fall shortly afterwards, but it didn't matter at that point. Charybdis had some more farm than Anhur had, and as you can see, was starting to build was at least starting at that point to build the gold gain that she would eventually gain, which was it was a 1600, which is fairly substantial, but that was all Charybdis really needed, especially since Charybdis can both poke Anhur and clear the wave with her spread out shots, whereas Anhur can only really do that if Charybdis happens to be standing in or directly behind the lane. So Charybdis did have that very interesting benefit, and in these kinds of matchups, if you can poke the enemy god and attract just enough minion attention where you can keep the enemy minions from damaging your minions and only take a little bit of poke yourself, you're in a really strong position. So there was that benefit as well, accentuated by the fact that Charybdis built Oboe and Anhur built Rage, which he did not finish stacking over the course of the game. Keep that in mind. So Charybdis was accentuating her already pretty excellent wave clear with Oboe here, which allowed her to poke Anhur even more than would be normal. And it also allowed her to clear her void buff whenever she needed a little faster than Anhur would. So she would be able to get back to lane after a void buff clear even faster. Chin size was a really interesting but overall excellent choice here, considering that Charybdis has really high attack speed, does really well with attack speed. This was a really good choice. So this was great. Atlantis bow. I do feel this is overbuilt. I think she would have been better off with Titan's Bane at this point. I understand that at the end she built Silver Branch. There we go. But, you know, I just think Atalanta's Bow... I've never found Atalanta's Agility to be that useful, personally. I know in boxing matches with enemy hunters it makes a difference, but that's the only situation in which I'm like, I'm really glad I had Atalanta's Bow. The rest of the time I'm like, okay. I mean, if you're building this for the penetration, Titan's Bane is better. Dominance is better for that matter, but I just find that Titan's Bane is underutilized because that offers a ton more penetration. But nevertheless, it's not a bad choice, don't get me wrong. This is by no means an incorrect choice. I just find that a lot of people build this because its core stats are good. The passive is a nice to have, but not really necessary. But people really often build this for the core stats, and one of those core stats is penetration. And I am aware of the fact that not everyone is building it for the attack speed. Some are building it for the penetration. And with that in mind, if you are building Atalanta's Bow for the penetration and not the attack speed, I would strongly recommend taking a look at Titan's Bane. It gives you roughly the same amount of power. I can't remember if it does 40 power still or if it's 35. I can't remember. But it's approximately the same amount of power, no attack speed, higher penetration. So, you know. But that was a huge problem for Anhur. Now, Morgana did have a problem with the Thanatos up until I think the supports moved into the mid lane, because I had more responses to Thanatos than Serqet had to Morgana. Serqet only, again, really had her ultimate, which puts her in one place for an unhealthy amount of time, and also she has her darts. Great. I can root Thanatos, who does not have any kind of escape. I can put Thanatos to sleep, which can really mess up Thanatos' ability to heal themselves with their Death Scythe, or utilize their ult in a timely fashion, or even their self-buff, which increases their penetration and movement speed. I can make that much more difficult just by putting him to sleep, because now the timing is off and they're not healing quite as much, and Death Scythe heals a lot, so trying to use Death Scythe frequently is very important for Thanatos. And I can pop up Thanatos. It just can get very ugly for Thanatos in the context of Khumbakharna matchups. But I do also appreciate Boomba's Spear. I think this is actually underutilized. Well, let me rephrase that. I can't really say that anymore. I think this used to be very underutilized, but I think people are really starting to pick up on the potential use of this, especially given that Morgana is getting a power buff of 10%. And Morgana being a mage, this can be really substantial. Even just with Boomba's Spear alone, you're getting a 10% buff on a 105 magic power. That is 10 increased power. Keep in mind that her total magic power was 520, so she was getting 52. 52, I'm rounding obviously. 52 extra magic power from Boomba's Spear, which is really impressive. That effectively makes Boomba's Spear in this context the highest power magic item in the game. This is higher than even Rod of Tahuti, everyone's favorite over-purchased item. Well, I haven't seen Rod of Tahuti being bought quite as much, so I am glad to say that Rod of Tahuti is where it belongs now, which is a really effective item for certain builds on certain gods. But now that we're back to normal on Rod of Tahuti, this is actually an incredibly strong purchase for just this reason alone. And she didn't even finish whatever this was going to be. I don't know if this was going to be Book of Thoth. I doubt it, because Book of Thoth this late is not a great idea. I would anticipate this to be Soul Reaver, which is going to be another 100 power or so. I can't remember its exact power off the top of my head, but that would have been another, well, let me rephrase, that would have been another 50-ish power, because Book of Souls obviously is 50 power. So this would have been close to 60 power increase. Probably would have been, 570-ish, so you would have been looking at 57 power increase, which on top of the 105 is 100 and good old 62. So, very impressive. You've also got penetration on this. I just think this is a great jungle item. And Thanatos built Mannequin Scepter, which I find somewhat odd. Basically, it looks like Thanatos is going for this weird kind of auto-attacking build. And I know Transcendence isn't necessarily often attributed with auto-attacks, but when auto-attacks utilize 100% of your physical power and most abilities don't, Transcendence really means a lot more for auto attackers than it does for ability use, even though it does give you mana and cooldown. It hits a little bit harder with auto attacks, and considering the Mannequin Scepter and the Hydras of Lament, I do find it a little odd that Thanatos built this way, and I'm assuming Heartseeker was going to be what the Charge of Morningstar was going to become, but it's a very odd build. The Thanatos did do very well, obviously, because the Thanatos was slapping like some kind of death machine, which is the way it should be, considering Thanatos is the god of death, but nevertheless, it is a very interesting choice. I think probably in the long run, the Mannequin Scepter really didn't pay off the way that maybe Thanatos was thinking, and so Thanatos maybe didn't have quite the impact with this that they thought they would have. I'm not really sure what would motivate a Thanatos to build Mannequin Scepter when Boomba's Dagger is so much more effective for Thanatos to get that health back. Keep on rolling with the amazing sustain. I know Thanatos doesn't need that much sustain, but it's still a very odd choice to Mannequin Scepter. I'm aware of the fact that the sweep attack is going to burn all 3 enemies in the jungle camp, but frankly, Thanatos hits hard enough anyways where that's not necessarily a huge deal. So I'm not really sure why this was built. I don't know if currently Thanatos' damage currently means that this just ekes the Thanatos over into clearing the camp a couple of seconds faster. I mean, the Thanatos did play very well, but the Mannequin Scepter kind of does confuse me a little bit. The rest of this makes some sense. Transcendence is a little bit interesting, considering Thanatos doesn't really need that much mana. Thanatos has very low mana costs because they're pulling from Thanatos' health partially, so I just don't fully understand this decision. Hydra's Lament, of course, just great on Thanatos. You use your Death Scythe, you slap them, you use your self buff with the increased penetration movement speed, slap them, you silence them, you slap them, you ult them, you slap them. It's quite impressive. The Bulwark of Hope makes a lot of sense in the context of a 4 magic team, so that's fine. Eset, of course, evolved Charon's Coin. Now this was quite the interesting pick. This was definitely built for the sustain, but considering that we weren't likely as a team to be building too much in the way of magic protections because the enemy team was 4 physicals, this does make this a very interesting choice. But it's not a bad one, it actually is good. It really did provide Eset with some good sustain, which is very important. Divine Ruin, which, this one, I'm going to be really honest, I'm not sure why this was built. Alright, let's see if we can get into the mind of Meow Mix. Alright, so Divine Ruin. You're building Divine Ruin. Now, our team had only one person who could self-heal, and that's Artio. Now, at this point, Morgana might have had Tiny Trinket, the first stage of Soul Gem, but that would have only been 2 people able to self-heal. I mean, and while you might be able to assume Agni to be able to self-heal, he didn't build it until way later. He didn't build any lifesteal until so much later. So I'm not really sure why this was built. We did not have enough healing to make this worthwhile. Artio does not have, by any stretch of the imagination, massive healing gains. Artio heals very small amounts of health over a period of time. There is not any kind of major amounts of healing. Yes, it can be a little annoying, but I would not necessarily say Artio and a third item Soul Gem to necessarily be providing enough life generation to require Divine Ruin as your third item. Just an opinion of mine. I think she built that too early, personally. Not that it was wrong, I think it was too early. And at the context of when she purchased this, I just think there was not a need. There was not enough healing on our team going on to justify the purchase of Divine Ruin at this point in time. I think she would have been better off going into Kronos' Pendant earlier or building some other form of penetration. Spear of Desolation would have been really nice. Spear of the Magus would have been really nice. It would have stacked really well with her Silence, which reduces protections, magic protections. That would have been really nice. Of course, Chronos Pendant is an excellent pick. You've got Magic Power, you've got MP5, you've got Cooldown. Spell Focus, this was obviously going to be Obshard. It's the only thing it can become. But then you are basically going overboard on the penetration, because this already provides... Alright, let me put it this way. You have 20% penetration on Charon's Coin. You have 20% default penetration on Obshard, right? Obshard's passive is the first ability you use, it gets 20 extra penetration. But you're already at cap penetration, so that doesn't mean anything. Unless that passive is permitted to give you more than the penetration cap of 40%, and I don't know about it, that's a waste. And she could have gone just fine without Obshard at this point. Really, honestly, you don't need both Obshard and Charon's Coin. One or the other is often fine. Build some percentage penetration, build some flat penetration, and you will basically have a response to any enemy threat, roughly speaking. So I do kind of wonder about this. The Chaac had a hard time because of a very serious mistake that Chaac did right off the top. Chaac built Mystical Mail into a magic enemy solo. Alright, now I understand that Mystical Mail is used to both poke the enemy and deal with the minion wave, and even, if you're feeling spicy enough, allow you to box the enemy god while killing the enemy minion wave at the same time. Approximately speaking, the archers can be a little bit tough to hit with Mystical Mail because they don't have to be in melee range, and if the enemy god doesn't move near enough to their own archer wave, it's going to be very tough to hit them with Mystical Mail. But the frontline dies, and then theoretically your minions would be able to take care of the enemy archer minions. So that's the idea in theory. But against a magic solo lane, this often doesn't work, especially when they are Artio. They have sustain to match your sustain. Chaac versus Artio. And they have more abilities at their disposal. Chaac isn't going to win an early game boxing match with Artio. Chaac isn't going to win any boxing match with Artio until at least level 5. Alright? And that's even assuming that Chaac has good itemization in the first place. Mystical Mail was an absolutely hideous mistake, because all this actually did for Chaac in that matchup was provide him with 40 physical protection against the enemy minion wave, and force the enemy minion wave to target him while Artio was rocking up to him and getting in his face and starting fights, because she knew from level 3 onwards she curb stomps Chaac, unless Chaac has been building properly, and Chaac did not. So this, and especially since the Artio can also force his wave to fight her, so his wave isn't even killing Artio's wave while they're fighting. They're each just fighting each other, and Artio has a bit more reach with her abilities because she's got the long-distance health beam, which, while it has roughly the same reach as Chaac's thrown axe, it lasts longer. And has crowd control. It's a slow to root. Chaac doesn't have that. Chaac just has a regular slow, and Artio can dash to bust through the slow. She can stun the Chaac while he's got the rain around him to reduce the amount of time that he gets to use the rain to attempt to escape, if he hasn't teleported to his axe. She's got the roots to keep him from teleporting to his axe in the first place. It's just a very messy situation for Chaac, and then he doubled down and built Jotunn's Wrath, still didn't build the magic protections. Artio doubled down on the physical protection she needed, went Breastplate of Valor, which was an excellent choice. Only at this point, 4 items in, did Chaac build the magic protections he needed to fight Artio, and by that point, it was too late. Alright, it was way too late for Chaac to recover, and that was really what happened in solo lane. I mean, props to Artio for playing well, yes, but the massive crushing victory of the solo lane came down to Chaac building completely wrong for the situation. And I don't know if Chaac built the first stage of this assuming for some reason Charybdis was going to be, or that somehow Mystical Mail not being able to defend him against the bigger damage threat on the board, which would have been the enemy god, and just being able to eliminate the minion wave was going to be the better option when Artio was building the same thing. I just don't understand the logic here to choosing this first and then doubling down on Jotunn's Wrath afterwards. I don't get it. You build magic protections against a magic laning opponent. Okay, let me actually put it this way. Typically, you open with your starting item, right? Bluestone. Great. Now, the reason why you only open with your starting item and you buy consumables, whether they be chalices or just regular potions, the reason why solo laners often do this is because if they're not sure of who their laning opponent is going to be, alright? Because it is very important in the early game to counter build your laning opponent in the solo lane so you can win the solo lane and start rotating to mid and force early team fights so your team can take mid tower and start to steamroll. That is the idea of the solo lane. That is what they're supposed to be doing in theory. Now, to this end, again, it is extremely important to counter build the opposition. So a lot of solo laners, if they aren't sure who is going to show up to solo lane, they build just Bluestone Pendant, they build a whole bunch of consumables, and then they wait until they see who their laning opponent is. And then, the first time they go back, they start counter building. Alright? Now, in the enemy context, it was up in the air for us to be sure of which one was going to be in the solo lane, because Serqet I've seen, well, pretty much in theory, everyone can go into the solo lane. But the problem here is that not everyone is necessarily good in the solo lane. Obviously, warriors are geared towards the solo lane. That is how they are designed. But Serqet has been taken into the solo lane. I disagree with this as well. I'm not fond of Serqet outside of jungle. I just don't think she's quite as versatile as people believe she is. At least, she's not as versatile as she was before with different items and everything like that. But anyways, Serqet could have been there, but more likely Thanatos was a pretty big possibility. Thanatos in the solo lane can be incredibly effective because Thanatos has great sustain, has percentage of health damage, and has an execute, which is something that warriors normally fear. Because obviously, you don't have to necessarily, that last, 25% roughly, the last quarter of your health, while normally would be a difficult time to get down because, of course, you've got protections and crowd control and everything, Thanatos doesn't care. So Thanatos can be, if well played and well built, Thanatos can be a dangerous threat in the solo lane. So it could have been Chaac, Serqet, or Thanatos in theory, right? But all bets were off between Thanatos and Chaac, basically. It could have been either of those two. Chaac playing support, Serqet playing jungle, Thanatos playing solo was a distinct possibility. Again, I wasn't paying too much attention to the enemy team composition in the loading screen. I would have mentioned this if I had noticed, but that is basically what that was. But the Artio was pretty confident that she was going to go against a physical opponent, because the two biggest players in the solo, of the enemy team, the two most likely to be useful in the solo lane were Chaac and Thanatos. Alright, so even if Artio went right into Vampiric Shroud and then into Mystical Mail, or started Mystical Mail, that makes sense, because the two biggest contenders for that lane were physical. Great. But Chaac looks at our 4 magic comp, sees our only physical as a hunter, and goes physical protections. That's not how solo lane works. I'm sorry, it just is not. And that is a huge reason why Artio was able to rotate to mid and just absolutely stomp. But that is essentially what it came down to. It was the reason the enemy team surrendered, and the reason why we did so well, was a strange combination of weird team composition picks, not great building on certain key individuals, namely Serqet and Chaac, some out-of-order builds for Eset, the Anhur. I actually will criticize the Rage for a bit here. I'm not sure if I remember to mention this, but Rage was not a smart pick at this point because Anhur was already behind, and Rage is not something you necessarily want to build from behind. You want to build this while you're ahead so you can stack it easier. If you're behind, you build some lifesteal. This should have been. Or possibly you build a different form of critical damage. You build, Wind Demon's a great one. You could build Aussie. You could build, something. But when you're behind, don't build Rage. Alright, it's just not going to end well for you for exactly this reason. But, yeah, beyond that, it was just a combination of the enemy team comp, the enemy's questionable item builds, and that would primarily be it, yeah. So, thank you all very much for joining me. If you like this, please like and subscribe. If you didn't, please ignore me. Thank you all very much, and have a great 24 hours.